Welcome to Crimepedia Podcast. This week I am your host, I'm Cherry, and with me, as always, is my partner in crime. It's the lovely Morgan.
Oh, I'm lovely again. Thank you. I'm Cherry.
Hello. So not much has been going on in the world of true crime for us this week. I've been having a look at the different things that happen in the news. Not crazy, like loads of news, which is good, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's usually no news is good news, right?
Yeah, this is true. And we've got coming up, I believe that we've got about 2 months or so, and we'll be coming up to like 20, I think it's 22 years of Stuart Lubbock's death. So
Really?
yeah, it's crazy. It's ridiculous. I think I'm just checking now. It is like over 20 years. Yeah. It's crazy. And we still don't know. Yeah, 21 years it'll be in 2 months' time. 21 years and there's still nothing. Still no one's coming forward. If you're not familiar with the case of Stuart Lubbock, we have covered that. So have a look back through wherever you download your podcast. Have a look back through. It's a story of a man who was found in a place in Essex in southern England, who was found with absolutely horrendous injuries, both internal and external injuries. Who was found in a swimming pool at a celebrity's house, and there were 9 people at the party, and not one of them is able to tell the police what actually happened to Stuart. It's when you even listen to it, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's a totally ridiculous case that should have been solved by now, and it's infuriating that it still isn't. And in 2 months' time, 21 years has gone by, and still those people are keeping stum about what happened. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's frustrating too because it looked like last year there was going to be some sort of break in the case, and that turned out for naught, right?
That's right. And I think it's a case of money kind of gets you places, I think, in this kind of place. And this is, I think in this case, it's just going to take one person just to come forward. And I don't understand why they can't. I don't understand why one person, even if they do it anonymously, can't come forward and say exactly what happened so that the police go in the right direction of reporting or looking for stuff. But with evidence of being taken out of the property before police got there, there's not much chance of that, being uncovered. There were, items missing that were there earlier on in the evening that suddenly weren't there. It makes me so angry. It's such a infuriating case, but hopefully soon someone has a little prick of conscience and we can get some answers for Stuart's family. Unfortunately, Stuart's dad died, didn't he? And so he's never going to see the resolution of it, which is really sad.
I feel like we're due some sort of positive result from a case that we've covered.
I think so. There's so many, isn't there? I mean, there's a lot. I've been doing some research this week on a case that we covered. I think it was last year. It definitely wasn't this year. A case that we covered last year. And it's just sometimes you open one door of a case and suddenly you're like, you've got 5 doors in front of you. And you're like, right, okay, you methodically go through everything, open the next door, and suddenly you've got 20 new doors in front of you. And it's the paperwork that I've been sent just this week on just one case is tremendous, absolutely crazy. In fact, there was so much paperwork, it couldn't be sent via normal email. We had to use sharing portals because there was that much.
Yeah.
It's just... for family members, this just must be so frustrating and so annoying that sometimes the answer is the obvious, but because of the way things are in our legal system, you can't just go after the obvious. You have to go in this like circle of procedure, and it's just so frustrating.
Yeah. And, let's be honest, though. Most of the time, this procedure that everyone has to go through works, right?
Yeah.
It works most of the time.
Yeah.
But there are times where it just muddies everything up.
Yeah.
And it makes things so difficult. And it's frustrating.
Before we get into this week's case, I was watching there's a program here on, I think it's Channel 4 on our TV, called 24 Hours in Police Custody. And the latest one that they did, so they basically just follow a case from start to finish, from when it happens right the way through, and they follow it everything, like all the way through. And the latest one that they covered was the death of an 11-week-old baby. And you had mum and dad who called 999 saying that the baby wasn't breathing, the baby was white. He was showing, no signs of distress, but literally was just not breathing. So you hear it all come through on the 999 call. You then see the police and the ambulance go out to the house. And then you see them all going off to hospital. You see the parents, the dad's crying, the mum's crying. So it goes on and the investigation sort of deepens. And then when they start to speak to other people surrounding this house, you start to find out that the dad is known for being very angry. He's known for being quite violent. The mum says that he's not. And to cut a long story short, it basically went through this procedure that the dad was a very, very angry man. He was violent. He did beat the mum up, although she wouldn't say that he did. And this baby, when they actually did the post-mortem after the baby died, the baby had so many injuries. Like an 11-week-old baby had a fractured skull from front to back, had a fractured pelvis, had a fractured spine, had fractured ribs. And so when the pathologist went through how the baby had got these injuries, there was no doubt in any evidence that you looked at, there was no doubt that this baby had died at the hands of a person.
Yeah.
So they went through it, and you could see all the police interviews. They show you all the interviews, and because there wasn't enough, so the police knew who did it. They knew that the dad was responsible. Because they didn't have, it wasn't enough evidence. When they went to the Crown Prosecution Service, the Crown Prosecution Service just basically said, no, we can't. You can't keep him. You can't keep him under arrest. They had to release him, knowing full well that he had done what he had done, into the public again, back home with his family, with other kids, and a wife that is being beaten up but won't say anything. It was just, for those police officers, it was so frustrating. You actually got to see behind the front line of police. You got to see that the police were actually people, and you got to see how upset they were by the case. And it was a really interesting program. If you can get that over in America, if you can get it on a streaming service or something, it's on Channel 4 if you're Googling that. And if you can, it's called 24 Hours in Police Custody, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's such a really an enthralling program. It's really, really good.
Yeah, that sounds really, really interesting.
I think you'd find it really interesting, because you get to see sort of the way that the procedure actually works and how they can't follow what they want to follow because they're not allowed. It's so frustrating.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And with us, we look through cases and we say, why didn't they do this? Why can't they do that? And you don't realize it's because they can't. They're not allowed.
Yeah. It's insane.
And this is another one. Right? Today's case is going to be another one that I think you're going to go, what? Okay. What? Why? So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into that, I just want to bring one thing up for you. So one of our all-time favorites, Colin Sutton.
Yeah.
He had an interview with Crime Con UK.
Yes.
And they asked Mr. Colin what is his favorite true crime podcast, right? Now he said that he loves Hannah, and I'm going to say her name. I'll say the name wrong. It's Saruthi on Red Handed.
Okay.
They present the facts well while also entertaining. But my favorite with a U is Cherry and Morgan on Crimepedia.
That is it. No award is ever going to top that. The fact that Colin Sutton, the best detective in the whole world, said that our podcast is his favourite has literally made my life. I love him.
We can quit now and be happy.
Yeah, definitely. I don't need an award for best podcast in the world. Colin thinks mine's the best, and I am happy with that. Literally, so I did scream quite loud when we were told that. Absolutely made my day, that did. Yeah, Best,
That was amazing.
Yeah, absolute best review ever. If any of you don't know who Colin Sutton is, look him up. He is the loveliest man. Just absolutely fascinating man, and very nice too. A very, very nice man.
Yeah. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton.
Because of that, I am going to figure out a way to watch. What's the name of the TV show?
His show.
Yeah,
The Real Manhunter. You've got to watch it.
Yeah, I'm going to find a way to watch it here in the States.
I think you can watch. Can you watch it on Hulu? I think you might be able to watch it on Hulu. One of our other either Patreons or one of our listeners said something about Colin. You can watch it on Hulu, I think.
We can watch it. Acorn TV.
Okay.
I think you can watch it on.
Yeah, so you definitely watch it because it shows the cases that Colin has investigated, and it just goes to show you there's lots of his employees and stuff. It goes to show you what an amazing guy he is and how cleverly he thinks things, how procedurally he thinks things, and how strategically he looks at stuff. He's a very clever man.
So it's The Real Manhunter.
Yes.
And then there's also Manhunt.
That's right. Manhunt.
That's
like a
upon his memoirs.
Yes. So that's
right?
So that's like a
series.
Drama. Like a drama.
Yeah. So I got to watch both those.
You should, because I think you'll really enjoy them. I think you'll enjoy The Real Manhunt more because that explains how they caught people and what they did. So I think you'll like that more.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out.
Okay, so let's get to this week's case then.
Let's do it.
On Wednesday, May 14th, 2008, at around 3:30 p.m. in a house on Glyn Farm Road in Quinton in Birmingham, the burned body of 25-year-old Kuldeep Kaur Sidhu was found by firefighters when a neighbour alerted them after smelling smoke coming from her house. She was found half naked with a rope around her neck. There was a suicide note found on a table in the lounge nearby, and it claimed that she had killed herself because of her husband was having an affair. But was this all as it seemed? Did Kuldeep take her own life, or was this murder? This is Crimepedia, and this is the story of Kuldeep Sidhu. Okay, Morgan, so 25-year-old Kuldeep Sidhu, known to her friends as Cully, lived in a house with her husband of just 6 months, and he is 27-year-old accountant Baljinder and their dog Lassie. Now, they met in 2001 and were married in November 2007. When they got married, they decided to cut ties with all members of the opposite sex to concentrate on their relationship. Now, it's not clear whose idea this actually was, but to me, I think this is a bit unhealthy. Because everybody,
it's strange.
Everybody has friends.
No, we're just talking like cutting friends of the opposite sex out of your life, because I would imagine in a workplace that'd be nearly impossible to do, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, I'm not going to have any guy friends anymore, and you're not going to have any female friends or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I just think that's
it's weird.
That's a good start. I don't think that's a good start to a relationship. Is that right? You can't speak to any women, and you can't speak to any men. There's
already trust issues right there, right?
Yeah, I think so. Now, it was reported that Baljinder's family weren't very happy with this marriage because Kuldeep was from a lower class Hindu family, But Baljinder did say that he said this was rubbish. The family were happy, and that he and his wife were already trying for a baby.
Okay.
Now, Kuldeep worked as a part-time nursery nurse in Honsworth Wood, which is less than 5 miles away from where she lived. And on Wednesday, May the 14th in 2008, Baljinder left for work at around 8 a.m. At this time, Kuldeep then went out to walk Lassie and then returned back to the house. Now, around 3:30 that afternoon, an elderly neighbour smelled smoke coming in her bedroom. She obviously thought it was a bit strange and then realised that the smoke was actually coming from next door in Kuldeep's house. She then raised the alarm and the firefighters then came out to the house. Now, the firefighters who broke into the house with a sledgehammer found Kuldeep's body at the bottom of a flight of stairs in the house. Her body was badly burnt. She had hardly any clothes on, and the fire was allegedly started where her body was. She had a rope tied around her neck, which was attached in part to a banister upstairs. So
Okay.
the murder squad detectives said that there was evidence of manual strangulation, and that it was suspected that she had been set on fire after her death.
Mm,
She was
Okay.
identified by her dental records, and the police believe that the fire was started at the bottom of the stairs and was just contained to the hallway and the stairs, and that it was started deliberately. So straight away, I'm starting to think, okay, this is to cover up. The fire was to cover up evidence.
Yeah, that's what I think. Let me go back real quick to the rope.
Mm-hmm.
The rope was still attached to the upstairs,
Yeah, so it was attached to the upstairs banister, but then the other end of it was attached to her neck, but it had been,
which is at the bottom of the
which is at the
steps.
bottom of the stairs, but it had been burnt through in the fire. So you could see it had once been whole, but because of the fire, it had burnt through, and so the top part was still attached upstairs, and the bottom part
That's
was
quite
still around her.
strange. Now, okay, I'm trying to imagine this. Are we talking about, like, is she? Of course, I don't know what the interior of the house looks like. Is she over the railing, like, so she would have been hanging, or is she just like at the very bottom of the steps?
So this is the thing that's very interesting in this case, is that so the house is a small house. It's like a three bedroom house. It's not a huge house. There's not a great big hallway and a great big sweeping staircase. It's just a small upstairs hallway which leads into the bedrooms, and then you come straight down the stairs into the hallway at the bottom. So it would appear, or be made to appear, that she had tried to hang herself from the banister. But from the positioning of her body at the bottom of the stairs and where the rope was, it would seem as if this had already been put around her neck following her death.
Okay. Okay, so that's strange to me, because you would think that if someone was going to be hanging themselves from a railing, step railing, that they would be over the railing where the rope is, they're hanging, right?
Yes, yeah.
But this is different, almost like it's tied to the top, and then she just kind of, if she did do this, then she would have just walked down the steps, and she would have got to the point where it got tight and just manually strangled herself that way.
Yeah, by the looks of things.
That makes no sense to me.
No, it makes no sense to me either.
Huh, okay.
So the scene itself is actually strange. There were bottles of whiskey and Bacardi found in the house. Now, this is very, very unusual, because they don't have alcohol in their house. And these must have been placed in the house after 8 a.m. when Baljinder left, because he said there was no alcohol in the house before he left. Another strange thing was that the flat screen TV in the living room had 5 cracks in it. Now, I can find no explanation of this, nothing that anybody said regarding this TV other than the TV had cracks in it, which was not there before Baljinder left. Now, the couple lived in a semi-detached house on Glyn Farm Road in Quinton, which is in Birmingham. And this is about 5 minutes from Birmingham city centre. It's a very long street, and quite big in terms of British streets. You have the main actual road, and then each house has got like a little driveway which you could park your car on. And each house has got like a pathway up to the house. So it's not straight on the street, terraced houses. You kind of get like one house, then another house, they're together, and then either side of that is like a doorway which would lead you to the back of the properties. So they're like little tiny blocks of 2. So every 2 houses there'll be a doorway, and that's that house's back entrance. So they're kind of semi-detached houses every 2. Now, in the lounge on the table, there was a note, and it's a handwritten note, and the note itself is really weird. Now, part of the note was actually released by police, and this part read, "I am Cully, and I am having this letter written for my mum and dad. My friend is writing it for me. and the writing was spelt wrong. Love you, mum and dad, which is strange. So if somebody's writing a suicide note for somebody else, then obviously they are culpable because they know this person's going to kill themselves. So that's very strange.
But here's the thing: it doesn't say anything.
No, but there's
No,
more.
right?
There's more of this letter. So more was read out at the inquest. And this read, we are all drinking and having fun as I want to forget my husband for now, who is having an affair with a white woman. I've seen it all with my own eyes. I can't take it anymore. Today, I'm so upset that I do not want to live anymore. I've been mentally tortured a lot at this man's hands, but I've been unable to tell you. Now, this note obviously claimed that this good friend wrote the letter on Kuldeep's behalf. Handwriting experts have looked at it and have ruled out both Kuldeep and Baljinder.
Oh, okay. So somebody
else supposedly wrote this on her behalf.
Okay. Let me ask you this: you have a friend who's distraught over a husband having an affair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're drinking, having some Bacardis. And she's like, you know what? I just can't do this anymore. I need you to write me a suicide note. Do you go, oh, sure?
No, of course not. You would not do it, would you?
Well, any normal human being wouldn't do it.
You would be helping.
They'd be like, no, you need help. Yeah. So that's, once again, something else that's very strange.
Also, the fact that they're drinking is also strange. The fact that they don't have alcohol in their house, and the fact that they're all. So who are they? We are all drinking and having fun. So who is the we? Because there's no reports of anybody coming back to the house with her. They've got no reports of any noises coming from the house, and this is like 8 a.m. Her husband left, so it's got to be after 8 a.m. Before 3:30 p.m. when the neighbour saw the smoke and called the fire brigade. So this is in the middle of the day that they are supposedly drinking and having fun. So who is this that she's drinking with? Who is she having fun with? And who in their right mind writes a suicide note for a friend?
And isn't that kind of contradictory? It's like we are drinking and having fun, but I'm going to kill myself because my husband's having an affair.
And then what do? Do you then say, right, okay, I'm going to do it now, so you need to leave? Because nobody was found in the house at the time. So what do you do? This obviously, to me, is obviously not suicide. Because did she set the fire and then kill herself, or was this fire set afterwards? Now, the evidence seems to point to the fact that the fire was actually started post-mortem. So I'm not a pathologist, but you can't kill yourself and then get up and start a fire and then die again.
No,
so
it's not. This isn't Looney Tunes where you just have like
another
trail of fire. Like, hey, I'm going to start a fire.
Over there,
50 feet away.
Yeah,
and then I'm going to kill myself. And by the time I'm dead, this trail of fire is going to come and catch everything on, catch me on fire or whatever.
Well, Detective Chief Inspector Steve Bimson, who is from the Major Investigation Unit, he said that the note found at the scene was obviously written by somebody else. So it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that somebody knows about her death.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So somebody else knows about her planning her death and has done basically sod all about it. Now, we've got a picture of the note, so I've put it onto our social medias. Now, he said maybe somebody recognizes the handwriting, knows something about the author. They need to know from anybody who witnessed any suspicious activity around her house or saw her walking her dog that morning. Now, when you look at the note itself, I straight away, as soon as I saw it, I think that looks like a man's writing. That reminds me of high school lads writing when I was at school. That looks to me like a man's writing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very It's very sloppy.
Yeah. The grammar isn't good. There's no capital letters in the mum and dad. So that's not
easy words are misspelled.
And it looks hurriedly written. It's not something. But I mean, they've put kisses under mum and dad. Love you, mum and dad, and put kisses.
What the fuck? No.
It's strange, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, okay, let me ask you this. So we know that she went by Cully.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't someone have to know she goes by that name to use it?
Exactly. So it would have to be a friend of hers. So this is not a stranger murder. This is somebody who knows her.
Someone who knows her
pretty well.
Pretty well.
Well,
yeah.
The house was sealed off for weeks after it happened, with the fire investigators and the scene of crimes experts carrying out a review of what had happened, searching for more clues. Now, Kuldeep's husband, Baljinder, was arrested in October of 2008. And at the same time, his mother was also arrested on suspicion of making threats to kill. But no charges were brought against them. So there's these rumours of this family feud, that the parents of his parents don't agree with their marriage. They didn't want it going ahead. And this is the rumour that's going around, although he has said on record that it's a load of rubbish, and actually they were really happy with them being married. Now, following her death, the family were informed that she was actually in the early stages of pregnancy. She was actually 6 weeks pregnant with her first child. So the family are obviously devastated. This is not just the loss of her, but now the loss of Baljinder's child as well. So in police interviews, Baljinder denied having an affair. The detectives found no evidence of an affair whilst looking into this. He said that his wife had complained that she was being stalked by somebody on a bus, and that he believed that someone had been watching their house. Now, detectives did ask for anybody that had seen her on a bus to-ing and fro-ing from work, or did they catch a bus regularly with her? Could they give any information? Was there somebody that sat on the bus that was odd, or somebody that talked to her on the bus? Detective Sergeant Andrew Houston of the West Midlands Police told the courts that the circumstances of her death did not suggest a murder by strangers, which is what we said. He said that the scene was elaborately set with Bacardi and whiskey that was not something that was normal in that house. The note was foreign to the house too, but there's no reason why a stranger would go in and set up such an elaborate scene. Why would they do that?
If you're a stranger, you wouldn't have to set it up because you have no connection to that person.
Yeah.
Right? So if you go in and, like, let's say you're stalking her, or you go in and you're going to rob the house and you find her there and you kill her, then you can just leave. And if you're, as long as you're not leaving any evidence around, you have no connection to that person.
And if it was a stranger, so say somebody broke in and they found her in there, she's frightened and they're going to kill her, but they think, oh, okay, I'm going to write a note to make it look like she's killed herself. What's your name? Chances are she's not going to say Cully. Chances are she's going to say Kuldeep, because Cully is something that her friends would call her or her family would call her. So chances are she's going to give her actual name. And so they write this note for their mum and dad, for her mum. It's too much. I don't think it's something that a stranger is going to do in that situation where they are just broken into a house and found someone home. So I think that's a bit of a stretch too far to think that this is somebody who is just broken in to rob her in the middle of the street and then set fire to the house to remove all evidence. What evidence are they actually removing?
No, none, unless they were trying to burn her body because there was some sort of like sexual assault, right?
Or there was some sort of strangulation marks, there were bruises.
Yeah.
To cover up the actual, because obviously once you burn a body, quite a lot of the evidence is gone.
But they didn't worry about the rope tied around her neck.
No. And they didn't worry about the fact that they wrote a letter and put a letter on the table and staged it with alcohol. And
we said it. I mean, we said just a little bit ago, and I'll say it again. A stranger's not setting up a crime scene like that.
No.
Because you have nothing. You have nothing to set up. There's no reason for you to be setting something up.
No.
If you're going to be setting up a suicide and the burning of your own body, you're doing that because you're someone that's close to the victim. Because you want to make it look like, oh, she's had a hard time and she just killed herself because I don't want police looking at me.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think that she was aware that she was pregnant. The husband wasn't aware that she was
Oh,
pregnant.
no?
No, she wasn't aware. She wasn't aware that it came up in the
How far
post-mortem.
along was she?
6 weeks. So literally
Okay.
one
So,
missed period. So she
Yeah, no. So really early. Yeah.
very early. So she wasn't aware that she was pregnant to anyone's knowledge. He wasn't aware that she was pregnant. So that also, again, I think would be very devastating if you killed somebody and then realized that actually she was pregnant. I don't think that would have happened perhaps if they knew she was pregnant.
Do you know if a toxicology report was done?
I didn't see. There's not a lot of information on this case. And this is why it particularly came to me. And this is why I wanted to do this one, because there isn't much about this. There's not a lot. When you have by all means, go on the internet and have a look for it. The same story is repeated in different newspapers, and the same, just literally the same circumstances. Police are looking for the killer of a pregnant woman in Birmingham. They go through what happened. That's it. And then they say that a man was arrested and a woman was arrested, but later let go. So I did some more digging and found out that man was the husband and the mother. Other than that, I think every year on the anniversary of her death, there's another, killer still not found. But other than that, nothing. Like nothing.
This is crazy. I don't know why this is still kind of like lingering, because I'm looking at this as an outsider and thinking to myself, there's a very limited number of people who could have done this. Right? Let's go to one of the very first things you said, right? Is after the marriage, they vowed to cut ties with people of the opposite sex.
Yes.
Let's say that did happen. At least, okay. Let's say that happened on Cully's side. Okay. If she does that, the chances of someone becoming infatuated with her, stalking her, and deciding to kill her because for whatever reason she won't be with them, whatever, is greatly diminished. Okay. So I don't see that really as a possibility.
I don't either.
This isn't a situation where a female friend, you have a dispute with them and they're like, I'm going to kill Cully and then I'm going to go through all this trouble to make it appear as though she committed suicide.
Yeah.
If I can be very, very blunt, my focus would be on husband, of course, right?
Yeah.
And his family. Because we cannot diminish the idea that the family was disappointed in him marrying her because she is from a lower caste.
That's right.
Even though the caste system, it's the way people look at the caste system in India and amongst their people it's not as greatly as significant. No. It's still very important.
Yeah.
Right? Especially with older generations.
Yes.
So if you're coming from a very traditional family and you looking at your son and they're marrying someone who you deem to be a lesser person than you in your family, you're going to have some resentment towards that person because you're going to be looking at it as my son who is marrying this person at a lower caste, that's bringing shame to my family. And that's really, if you look at it, it's like if he's going to marry down a caste, then he's going down a caste. So it's a serious issue.
And there must have been some reason that the mum was arrested. I mean, the dad wasn't arrested, the brother wasn't arrested, the sister wasn't arrested. There must be a reason that the mum had been arrested. They've got to have thought that there's got to have been something there. You don't just arrest anybody for no reason. There's got to have been something that gave them a reason to arrest her. Now, Kuldeep's brother, his name is Amarjit, he said she was like a breath of fresh air. There was no one like her. He said she was very honest. He said she was very concerned about everybody else before herself. He said it's very hard to deal with the fact that she's not here and the fact that of the circumstances she was murdered in. He said it's absolutely, they're clueless to know why this person did this and who did this. Now, her dad also said that they don't understand why anyone would do this to her. She was a very lovely girl. She wouldn't do anything to harm anybody. Her sister, she said, she was my other half. It's really strange her not being here. It seems as if she was a nice girl. Nobody seems to have any problems with her. The only problem that there is anything reported of is Baljinder's family that seem to have some sort of problem with her. And obviously her caste, like you said. So the inquest lasted 3 days, during which a pathologist told the court that although she had been found with the rope around her neck, there were no discernible ligature marks. And this is what I was saying to you before, in that she hasn't been hanging from that rope. The rope is around her neck, but she hasn't been hanging from it.
Oh, so the rope is all for show.
Yeah, to make it
so
look
she hadn't been
like...
strangled by that rope at all.
No. There's no ligature marks around her neck.
Which, if she was strangled either by herself or by someone else, there should be
some sort of
ligature
markings.
marks.
Yeah.
Oh.
So before...
That's just late. That's late. Well, not lazy, but that's just... If you're going to go through this trouble to try to make it look like a suicide, that's a really bad job. If you're like, oh, I'm going to make it look like she hung herself, but there's going to be no evidence that she actually did hang herself.
That's right. So they've obviously thought about... I mean, let's think about this, how this could have happened. Okay, so if she did this herself, okay, she would have had to have started the fire first. Then she would have had to have gone upstairs, tied the rope to the banister, put the rope around her neck, and then gone over the banister. So that's how it would have been if she had done it herself.
But she didn't go over the banister.
Well, no, she didn't. Right? She ended up at the bottom of the stairs. But that's how it would have been if she was going to kill herself. She would have had to have hung herself. Now, to hang from the height needed for her feet to not touch the floor, she would have had to have gone over the top of that banister and hang there, because of where the rope was tied upstairs. Now, I mean, people can tie a rope around just a normal chair or a door handle. You can do that, and you can asphyxiate yourself by just leaning forward. So you don't have to hang to die by hanging, if you know what I mean. So yeah, she could have, if she wanted to, have fastened that rope to halfway up the stairs and lay herself down and pulled herself down the stairs like that. So that just made me straight away think this is staged, because she isn't in a position where she would directly fall from hanging. Now, the coroner, a guy called Mr. Aidan Cotter, he stressed that under rules governing coroners, he was forbidden from determining criminal liability in the respect of any named person. But he said his verdict in the end was unlawful killing. He said in his summing up at the inquest, "In my view, the evidence shows clearly this was not murder by a stranger. An attempt was made to destroy the evidence by burning her body to make it look as if Kuldeep had taken her own life by hanging. She had not. The court heard that she had been strangled before a rope was tied around her neck and then attached to the upstairs banister. When the fire burnt through it, her body fell." So the pathologist, Dr. William Lawler, said the most likely explanation is that the deceased died from manual strangulation. The rope was then put around her neck. She had already died by this point, and she was then hung from the banister, and the fire was then started. So that's what they think the most likely event was. So that's scenario number one, is that's what they think happened. Scenario number one is that she did it herself. So if we go for this, for what the actual police think happened, so somebody then has to break into the house. We don't have any signs of any break-in, no signs of anything like that, they would have had to then break into the house for a reason. So did they go in there just to kill her? Or did they go in there to rob the place? The place wasn't ransacked. Why they would take in alcohol and place that around and write the note to say that they were partying doesn't really make sense. So, okay, so it's a family member. They want to get rid of her because they don't like her. So they go in there to make it look like she's had enough. She thinks her husband's having an affair, so she's killed herself because she can't take it anymore. They want her to have been drinking, so they plant the bottles in it. That sounds more plausible to me than anything else.
Yeah.
In that it's somebody
absolutely.
who knows her, so they set up this scene that she's found out that her husband's cheating on her. She's then got drunk in the house. She's got her friend to write this note, and then she's hung herself and started a fire. If you're going to kill yourself, why start a fire? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. No.
You would just hang yourself. You wouldn't hang yourself and start a fire as well. It makes no sense.
How are you going to start a fire? I mean, you'd have to
start it first.
Makes no damn sense. Yeah. But
why would you start a fire to remove any evidence? Because you killed yourself.
There would be no evidence for you to be trying to hide.
That's right. So why would you do that? Why would you try and hide your own?
There's no evidence. No.
So it's very strange. So the death was ruled an unlawful killing. It's been 14 years since her death now. Still no news, no new leads that I'm aware of. And in 2010, Detective Sergeant Andrew Houston, obviously of the West Midlands Police, said there's been a wide-ranging, painstaking inquiry into the death of Kuldeep Sidhu. It's clear from our investigation, from the comments made during the course of the inquest by Mr. Cotter, that the answer to whoever has committed this murder lies closely around the scene and to those who know Kuldeep.
But... And there hasn't been anything in 12 years.
Nothing. There's no new newspaper recordings. There's no new evidence that anyone's talking about. There's no new suspects. No one else has been arrested in connection with this.
Let me try to think about this as reasonable and as logical as possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I am Belgender. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have been with this woman for how many years? For 7 years.
7 years. Yeah.
Okay. I marry her. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I am assuming that her child is mine. I don't know.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know about the child. Yeah.
No. He doesn't know. But I'm saying, I'm assuming now that that's going to be my child, which means that we are having sexual relations with each other.
Mm-hmm.
We've been married for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Would I mean, I guess a lot of things can happen. A lot of things can change within 6 months. But within 6 months, would things change so drastically where I'm thinking, I can't do this anymore, and I just need to get rid of her? I mean, yeah, possible. But in this case, it's weird. I feel like his family probably, in their eyes, have more to lose with her being around than he does.
Yeah, I agree.
Because because I guarantee you, over the course of the past 7 years, if I'm Balhinder, they have been on my case since day one about being with Cully, right?
Yeah. I mean, she's 25 when she died. They've been together for 7 years. That's quite a long time in relationship stage without marriage.
Oh, it is.
It's quite a long time. I mean, he's 27. He's been with her since he was 20.
If you're going that long, 7 years, and you know that he's hearing it from mom, from dad, from siblings, whatever, uncles, aunts, whoever it might be, going, why are you with her? She's not she's of a different caste.
Yeah.
She's below you. She's not good enough for you. But yet, for 7 years, you stick with it, and you go as far as to marry her.
I can't see that he would then all of a sudden 6 months in go, do you know what? this was a mistake. I need to kill her. I think this sounds more like I don't want him to be with her. He's not going to leave her. We need to get rid of her.
Well, here, so he was at work, and we can confirm that he was at work. I mean, from what we know, he was at work.
Yeah.
So he physically does not kill her.
No.
Could he be involved in her death? Maybe. In this case, I don't necessarily see it. Is it possible? Yes, but I don't. That's not my first instinct is he didn't have a hand in it.
The first thing he said when police spoke to him, he got home at about 7 that evening. And the first thing that he's an accountant. The first thing that he said to the police was, we're going to get the bastards that did this.
As in plural.
Bastards that did this. That's what he said. That's the first thing he said was, we're going to get the bastards that did this.
Wait. That's a weird thing to be saying.
That was reported. That was from an article, but that was the first thing reportedly he said was, we're going to get the bastards that did this.
Either that tells me that he has some idea of who would have done this.
Yeah, that's
because
exactly what
plural.
I thought. Yeah,
it's plural.
You don't use plural.
I'm going to get the bat. Yeah. No, he has some idea of who did it.
I agree.
And that kind of changes things for me then. Could he have been involved? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like he knows more. He knows more about what happened or maybe not what happened, but he has some sort of idea of who would have wanted to do this.
I also would be very interested to see, I'm sure that the police looked into this, but I'd be very interested to see his work patterns because he's an accountant. So he left work at 8:30 in the morning. Okay, that's normal. He didn't come home till 7. So that's a long working day. I mean, normally accountants work office hours. So it'd be like 8:30 till 5. The fire engines were called out at 3:30. So we're looking at like...
Wait. 3:30.
3:30, the fire engine.
He doesn't come home for another 4 hours plus hours?
Yeah, 3.5 hours later.
No one gets a hold of him?
Well, exactly. I find that strange. That's immediately what I thought. Okay, he's not reportedly get home until 7. The fire brigade was called at 3:30. So they bashed down the door. You're telling me not one of his neighbours or anybody knows this guy, knows where he works, can get a hold of him? I mean, the police can't trace any other house. Now, also, I know that people are going to ask me, because I know you will, the dog got out absolutely fine from the fire. The dog was unharmed.
That's okay.
And so Lassie was absolutely fine. So I know that people will ask that. So yeah, the dog was absolutely fine and wasn't injured in the fire. And the fire was contained to a small part of the house. For me, I don't think he did it. I'm not sure that he knew it was going to happen either. From what I'm reading, this is just straight me thinking, but I think that when it did happen, he's got an idea who would have been responsible or could have been responsible for this.
If he had a hand in it, as in he found someone to do it for him, if I were him, I'd be pissed because they did a piss poor job.
They did do a really shit job.
Holy hell.
Obviously, they don't know. No one knows that she's pregnant. And I wonder if things would have been different had the family have known she was pregnant. Because this would have been their son's or their family's child. So would things have been different because she was pregnant? Or would the outcome have been, was this because she was pregnant? Did she know she was pregnant and hadn't told him yet? Because he only found out, her family only found out at the autopsy that she was pregnant. He reportedly only found out at the autopsy that she was pregnant. Whether she knew or not, I don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
I'd be interested to see if they had been trying.
They had been trying. Yeah, they had been trying.
Oh, so they had been trying.
Yeah, they had been trying. Because he said that it was rubbish that his family weren't happy and that he and his wife were happy and they were trying for a baby already. So they were trying for a baby. So I wonder, have the family learnt that they were trying for a baby and thought, damn no, this is
We
not
got to
happening.
end this now.
We need to get this now. But then they've been together for 7 years. So I don't know. I don't know Hindu religion. I don't know if they have sex before marriage. I'm not sure, because I know that some religions, they don't have sex. If they are strict, they don't have sex before marriage. If this is the case, they're now married and trying for a baby. Could this be the reason that she was expired? I'm not sure.
Wow. I'm really disappointed that this case is not getting more attention.
I don't know why it isn't. I don't know why it hasn't. I mean, it was reported in like big papers like the Daily Mail. It was reported in the Mirror. So it went into national papers, and it was reported on like Indian news and things like that. But literally, it was reported at the time. It's mentioned again in like 2010 that I could find in news archives, and then nothing.
Yeah,
There's like nothing. There's no case updates. There's no, I mean, you can see it if you Google, like, I don't know, Britain's unsolved murders or something. It will pop up on there, but nothing other than what's already reported in the 2008 newspaper articles and a couple of 2010 newspaper articles.
Yeah.
There's not a lot about it.
And I came across one of the articles, which it looked to me like there had been a 27-year-old and a 48-year-old woman.
That's right.
I'm guessing the mom was 48.
Yeah.
So who was the 27-year-old that was?
That was him. He was 27. So he was the 27-year-old, and she was the 48-year-old. Yeah.
See, that's why it was confusing, because it the way it was written, it looked like it was somebody else, 27-year-old.
Yeah.
Because it said like 27-year-old from wherever, and a 48-year-old woman had been arrested.
Because I thought initially the same thing.
Wonder...
But it's not. I found out later that it's actually Baljinder and his mum. I mean, his mum's young. His mum's 48. She's quite young.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about like an elder who's in their 70s, 80s. We're talking about a woman who's in her 40s. I mean, she's not much older than us.
What? There had to have been something significant which would have, gave the police at least a reason to arrest the mom, right?
Of course. There had to have been. Because they wouldn't just arrest her for nothing. Yeah. Why? They arrested her on suspicion of threats to kill. That is what they arrested her for.
Oh, okay. Well, that's right. That's a major issue. Yeah, arrest her for that.
She was,
and then question her. So then you question her, like, you said you wanted to kill her, and like, oh no, I'm just kidding, just just having a little banter, ha ha ha.
And she ends up dead.
Man. So, I mean, could mom have done it? Yeah, I guess. Mom, I don't know.
I mean, his dad there's no reports of his dad speaking or making any statements anywhere. There's nothing for his mum either. Only Baljinder and her family talking. So there's nothing really. His family don't make any statements or talk about the loss of their daughter-in-law or how sad everything is. There's nothing. There's literally Kuldeep's brother and sister and her dad talking about this. But other than that, his side of the family don't say anything.
That kind of tells me that they're okay, fine, I'm good.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Make of that what you will. When you look at this from an outside in, everything kind of goes back to his side of the family.
Yeah.
But I feel for her. I mean, she's a young girl. She's very pretty, really, she's a nursery nurse. Everybody speaks really highly of her. Her work friends speak really highly of her. Her family speak really highly of her. Obviously, she's got no male friends because they've decided not to do that when they got married. So what do you do?
Okay. So I just had this thought, and it came up because I was, going through some of these articles that were written about it. And when it mentions there's one that mentions, I think we just briefly talked about the 27-year-old, 48-year-old who had been brought in for questioning. So that's, of course, Baljinder and his mother. I found it interesting that they said that they were both from the same area, right?
Yeah.
They're both, yeah. So it said, let me just read it here. Both from Handsworth.
Yes.
So that kind of tells me that the families are close, right?
Yeah.
So the mom and dad are at least in the same general area as Belhender. So I would find it strange if he didn't have more family in the area.
That's right.
And if they're really close to in proximity, if that's the case, why wouldn't anyone reached out to him and said, "Hey, something's happening in your house," right? So if mom and dad are in the area, and they probably have friends in the area, I know that it looks like that they had Belhender and Cully had just moved in the house like a few months prior.
Yeah.
That's so strange to me, though, that no one would have reached out to him.
I mean,
say, "Hey, something's going on."
Handsworth and Quinton are about 15 minutes away, so quite close. They're quite close to each other.
Okay.
Obviously, he's from Handsworth. That's where he's from, and obviously his parents live there. So I think that's why they've said in the article both from Handsworth. I think that's why they've said it like that. I mean, it's by you can travel by like bus. It's quite quick. I mean, the quickest way takes 6 minutes to get from Birmingham city centre into Quinton. So it's all very close. Handsworth is just the other side of the city centre. So they are very close.
So, but it is far enough away from the two that if they're in Quinton, then maybe you wouldn't hear in Handsworth, "Oh, there's a fire at the house."
Possibly not. No.
Okay.
But also, I don't know where he worked either. I'm not sure whether he worked in Birmingham city centre or whether he worked in Quinton. I'm not sure where he actually worked. All we know is that he left for work and he works as an accountant. So she worked in Handsworth Wood. So she actually worked in Handsworth herself as the nursery nurse.
Okay.
So she obviously travelled every day or whenever she was working. She obviously travelled to Handsworth to go to work. So it was only a 15-minute trip.
Which isn't, it's not that far.
Not far, not at all. But I'm sure there would have been people around that knew who he was to be able to get hold of him.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. I mean, if I was gone, at my house and something happened, I don't think any of my neighbors would know how to get a hold of me.
No.
But I would think at least the police would figure it out.
Well, of course. Yeah. I mean,
they would.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it?
This isn't like, someone, fell down the steps and they sprained their ankle. No, this is you find someone dead at the bottom of the steps.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to figure out, okay, well, where's the husband?
That's right.
And that's the first. I mean, look, if you come in across a suspicious crime scene, don't you go and say, "Okay, well, let's notify the husband. Let's get him because he could be off getting rid of more evidence."
I mean, don't forget she was only identified by her dental records. So that's how she was identified. So they've been called to the house. They found the body of this woman at the bottom of the stairs. She's quite badly burnt.
Okay.
So they don't automatically know. But then saying that, if I was to go into a house, there's a body in the house, the first thing I would do would be to look for post, because that would give you the name of the people in the house. So I would look for letters. I mean, straight away from reading the note that she's supposedly called Cully. So I would then be looking around for... There must be stuff in the house that would tell you who these people are. But he didn't return back to the home until 7:00. I'd like to know whether that was usual. Was that usual for him? Was it usual? Could he have been uncontactable in this time? Was there a reason why? It's possible. But I just this is such a sad case in that it feels to me like, unless I'm wrong, it feels to me like nobody's fighting for her. There's nobody saying, why aren't we still looking at this? What else have we got? Unless police know who did this, but they just can't prove it. There's no point in them investigating anywhere else because they know who did it, but they just can't prove 100% who it was. And that would be understandably why they're not looking anymore.
That's so frustrating.
It really is. And I feel for her. I mean, I look at the photo of her and I just think, you didn't deserve that. You really didn't deserve that. You're a young girl with the rest of your life ahead of you. A new, going to be a new mum. She didn't even know if she knew she was going to be a new mum yet. But she had so much life ahead of her. And for what? What was she killed for? For what? There's nothing to say that she's done anything so bad that it deserved her being murdered.
Exactly.
And I just feel like I didn't know about this case. And I don't know anybody else that knows about this case. And nobody's really talking about it. Why not? Why isn't anybody talking about this case? So I just thought it would be a good one for us to talk about and see what other people think.
Yeah. It's a very good one. I'm glad you brought this one up and you covered this one.
Oh, I'll keep my ears out and see if there's anything else. I'll keep looking for, I've set up an alert for it if anything comes up with that name, but I can't, nothing so far.
That's crazy. Well, thank you for that.
No problem.
I really, really appreciate it. All right. With that, how about we
lift
everyone's
the mood.
favorite, lighten the mood.
Lighten the mood.
We do a little dumb criminal.
Hey, criminal, use a dummy.
Thank you, Captain. Okay, Cherry. So this one is a very interesting one. I want to start off by saying poaching is bad. Don't be a poacher, people. Okay?
Okay.
And if you do see poachers, make sure you contact your local wildlife organizations to report them. However, in California, a Clovis man was convicted on deer poaching charges after wildlife officers followed up on a tip to their crime hotline that was submitted by the poacher himself.
What?
Yes. So this was back in 2019. Adam Friedman, who was 50 years old at the time, contacted CalTIP, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife's Poaching and Pollution Hotline, and stated he witnessed a man shoot a deer in the Madera County Foothill neighborhood. During the investigation, wildlife officers located surveillance footage from a neighbor's doorbell camera and clearly identified Friedman as the subject of his own poaching complaint.
What an idiot.
Friedman was cited and the case was referred to the county courts. Now, last year, while the case was actually still pending, Freeman was once again caught on video in a separate incident in Fresno County, shooting and killing a deer in the Shaver Lake neighborhood. So wardens would go ahead and investigate that case as well, in which analysis of DNA by the CDFW Wildlife Forensic Laboratory showed that deer parts in Freeman's position matched the DNA of the deer that was killed in the Shaver Lake neighborhood.
Oh my goodness. What a silly... Why would you even think to do that? That's what I don't understand. Why?
I have no idea. No idea. So the case, actually both cases were adjudicated in court back in December of 2021. Now, Freeman would plead no contest to wanton waste of a game animal in discharging a firearm within 150 yards of a dwelling. Now, he was ordered to pay $2,850 in fine, ordered not to hunt for a period of 3 years, complete 50 hours of community service, and complete a course in California hunter education.
And a course in telling the truth.
Yes. Well, he did tell the truth.
Well, yeah,
he called and he said,
he did call and said someone's shot.
Someone's out there poaching. You need to go stop that guy.
Go and stop that bad guy. What an idiot.
I mean... Yeah, so Mr. Adam Friedman, you are truly a dummy.
Definitely.
That is insane, right?
That is insane.
Why would you call and report
yourself? Oh, I have no idea.
But he said he didn't say, "Hey, I'm out here poaching." I mean, he said, he's saying, "Yeah, I saw a man shoot a deer." That man was me.
That doesn't make sense, does it? That's crazy. Before
That's so crazy.
we go, I need to say hello to Sam Dutton. Sam Dutton is a guy that we met at CrimeCon UK this year, who is the most amazing artist, like amazing. He's got a page on Instagram, so go check it out. It's called Lazy Mule Art, and it's absolutely brilliant. He's such a clever, really, really talented guy. I've seen some of the drawings that he's done. He's got loads of them on his Instagram, and he always listens to us while he's drawing, which is so nice.
Oh,
Yeah, so I thought that was really nice.
That is
One of his podcasts that he draws to. So
what is
it's
it again?
Lazy Mule Art. So it's lazy underscore
Lazy
mule underscore art. And it's
Mule.
called Sam Dutton. And he's a really nice guy, like insanely talented with a pencil. Really, really talented. And he was at CrimeCon. He'll be there at CrimeCon again this year. So yeah, we can hang out with him when we go there.
Wow.
He's really good, isn't he?
Yeah.
Really good. Yeah, so he hung out with us after one of the, I think it was a Friday night or Saturday night at CrimeCon. It's Captain and Aaron and Justin from Generation Y. We just all sat together, and this guy was chatting and saying about his art, and then he showed us some pictures, and we were like, "Wow, that's so good, really good." And another shout out we've got to do is to Ross Doherty, who sent us a message on Facebook to say that he loves our podcast and it's a highlight of his week when the new episode drops.
Oh.
And I can't remember who it is. I'm sorry, I've forgotten who it was. One of our listeners messaged to say that she'd been waiting on Monday all day for our episode to drop, and then suddenly realised that it wasn't Monday it drops, it's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
So I kept refreshing my feed, and it hadn't dropped. And then I realised why. It was because it was Monday. So
well, okay. If you are in, let's say, California, technically it does drop on Monday.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
because it comes out midnight on Eastern time.
There you go. Move to California so you can listen to it on a Monday. Simple.
If you are in, let's say, Fiji, it comes out on like Wednesday.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, there you go. See, look, there you go. Thank you for joining us this week. We've had lots of fun taking you through this week's case. We'll be back again next Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, depending on where you are, with Morgan's case next week, and we will see you then. So for now, be nice.
And bye.